Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm Bob Walters. This is Locked Up Sports. Welcome to the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Every little bit helps. And we got a special show for you here today. Basketball is the hot topic lately, of course, with the Knicks making their deep run into the playoffs. And we got an Eastern Conference Finals preview out, so make sure to check that out. But today here, right now, we got a special show for you. We got an author. We like to have authors on every once in a while. The new book. He's a local author. It's a book about local high school basketball. Now, okay, you might say, all right. But listen, it's an excellent book. It's a great story. It's the story of the 1974-75 Babylon high school basketball team and the first ever Long Island championship and an underdog story. It's got a little bit of everything in it. And we got the author with us. I spoke to him just about a couple hours ago earlier, and you're going to really enjoy it. He does a great job. It's a great book. He's a good guy. And here it is. Here's my interview with author Tom McKeown. The book is called This Is Panther Country, a memoir of youth, underdog spirit, and basketball glory. It's the story of the 1974-75 Babylon high school basketball team. We'll see you on the other side, everybody. We're going to talk some basketball as basketball's, able to be talked about again here in New York with St. John's doing good. And we got, of course, the Knicks heading to the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to talk some local high school basketball today. And back in the day, we're joined by Tom McKeown. He's the author of a book. It's called This Is Panther Country, a memoir of youth, underdog spirit, and basketball glory. And it's the story of the 1974-75 Babylon high school basketball team. Tom, thanks for joining the show.
Oh, my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Truth be told, I was just telling Tom I'm not 100% done with the book because we had a bout of upper respiratory stuff come through, as you could hear through in my voice, and we had a second birthday. But I'm almost done with it, and I plan on finishing it today. And it's an excellent book, and we're going to tell you everybody where to get it and how they could get it and how they could get in touch with Tom if they need to. Tom, first of all, I know I did hear through the grapevine you're a Walt Clyde Frazier guy, right?
Absolutely. He was my inspiration to get into basketball. I talk a little bit about that. 1969 was like my beginning of professional sports consciousness. We had the Jets, the Mets, and the Knicks, but basketball was always my passion. So and Clyde was the man back then. Do you take your fashion from him too, or? Yeah. No, not quite. Yeah, well, only in looking sharp. There's only so many people can pull that off.
We can't pull that off. Absolutely not. I can't either. I can barely pull off a jacket with like a V-neck T-shirt. That's about my limit. But now the Knicks. Now let's do real quick the Knicks. Now, are you a Knicks fan? Like you still follow the Knicks and everything? Like what do you think about this team? You think they're gonna take care of Indiana? I think it's gonna be a tough series.
I think it's going to be a tough series, and you've got that rivalry that goes back to the Ewing Reggie Miller days. So it's not too long ago, but fresh in people's memories. But once you get into the playoffs and everybody's smelling a title, you can't undercount anybody.
Yeah, they're so close, and it's been so long, and they're so starved.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. Just 2 years ago, they were shutting down 7th Avenue just for one playoff win. Yeah, I mean, and I was kind of embarrassed. I was like, "Come on, it's New York. Let's not embarrass ourselves here. We've been here before. We know what we're doing." Are you a Mets and Jets fan?
Yeah, I'm a Mets and Jets fan. Okay. Those are the ones who are like doing well. Like I say, when I first started following sports.
Yeah, but 69.
I was never a New Yorker that I rooted against the other New York teams.
Okay,
if the Giants are playing or if the Yankees are playing, absolutely, I'll root for them.
Okay, see, I 100% root against the Yankees. I don't root against the Jets. Yankees? No. I don't root for the Yankees. I can't root for the Yankees, but that's because I grew up in the midst of the dynasty, Yeah. So, but either way, listen, the book. Let's get to the book. The book, like I said, excellent read. It's an easy read. You're gonna enjoy it. It's called "This Is Panther Country: A Memoir of Youth, Underdog Spirit, and Basketball Glory." And I had said to you right before we came on, I thought when I went into reading this book, I thought you were a player on the team. You weren't. You were younger, and it's kind of a look from a younger perspective of, what were you, 13 years old, I believe, right, when you wrote the book?
I was 13. I was in 8th grade, and Babylon High School was a Well, we were a small village, small area. We had one grade school, one elementary school, and the high school was a junior senior high school. So we were all in one building from 7th grade to 12th grade. I was on the junior high team in 8th grade, and we had a really fantastic varsity team that year, and actually a team that had a couple of very good years. So we kind of looked up to them. We knew they were going to be good, but then as the season started going on and they started crossing new barriers, we're like, oh, this could be something really special. And the fact that that was 50 years ago this year was part of the reason I wrote the book now. And also just nothing's been really written about it. I had to go back to Newsday and Long Island Press and areas to get stuff on the stories. But the coach is still alive down in Florida, so I talked to him a little bit, and some of the players I was able to contact with. But it was really a very special story that meant so much to my hometown that I was really enthusiastic and happy about being able to capture it.
Yeah, now I was telling you, I'm a Sable guy. We're not a basketball powerhouse by any means. It's more of a football type of school, but
Yeah.
but either way, nowadays it's kind of like I wouldn't call Long Island a hotbed for basketball. I would say with the private schools, right, with the Catholic schools, it more is because they could kind of recruit. Was it like that back then at all, or was it more like a public school? The Stars went and they stayed in district.
Mostly they stayed in districts. The Catholic schools, the Lutherans, the Holy Trinities, they did do a bit of poaching, but it was mostly kids who planned on going there. So they didn't come. I think they do it a little bit more today, where they actually go out and recruit kids.
Yeah, they do. They recruit them. They give them scholarships and stuff.
Yeah. So the public high school competition back then was very strong, and also one thing I point back out in the book, they didn't have a Division A champ, a Division B, C, and everything. There was just one county champion for Suffolk, one county championship for Nassau. And they also didn't have a state championship back then as well. So the county championship, or the New York State athletic districts, I think there were 11 of them, that's as high as you could go. So you could win the county championship, and then your season ended. And then in 1974-75, was the first year they let the county champs play one more game. So it didn't quite as mean as much in upstate New York, where the two counties were playing, but on Long Island, where you only had two counties, Nassau played Suffolk. So we were going to have a Long Island championship, and it was going to be the first one. And I think the thought, or because Suffolk Nassau kind of looked down a little bit on Suffolk basketball. I said it was kind of goes down. New York City looked down on Long Island.
Closer to the city too. It was closer to the city.
Yeah. So I think all the Nassau coaches and programs are hoping one of the powers from Suffolk, like Brentwood, who had Mitch Kupchak and everything, they might be the first representative. So Babylon knew they were going to have a good season, but it was like I said, it became really special as it went on, and they started winning more and more.
Yeah, and you guys had a good team. Now, it's weird to me that they had no state championship back then. That wasn't that long ago, right? That seems a little odd.
The county championship was as high as you could go, and I don't think they never had an open state championship where there was absolutely just one team like they have in Indiana.
Yeah, no, they don't. Yeah. But either way, like you said, and if it's just Suffolk in it, they don't go by the size of with the divisions. It's just one Suffolk champion. I mean, you're in a I guess a conference or a county with people like Sachem, and who's got thousands and thousands of students to pick from. You would imagine they would just run away with it every year. But you guys had a really good team that year.
We had a really good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so it was. We tended in our good years, we were top heavy. So you'd have like a team that might be 4 or 5 strong, and then they'd have to. I joke around, fill it out with people like me who were good athletes, but weren't going to compete with the Kupchaks and Rulins and guys.
You weren't swishing and dishing like Walt Clyde.
And we also didn't have a 3-point line back then, so everything went down to the post, and the smaller teams would try and win by running out the clock rather than forcing the action.
And no shot. Was that right when the shot clock came in, right around 75?
It was a few years later. I think it was like the late 70s, 78, 79. But so some teams would get the ball and just hold it forever.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, yeah. But what we had a really disciplined team that year, and we had a team that went 8 or 9 deep. So we had a couple of freshman phenoms. We had probably I'd say once in a generation type player, and a guy named Glenn Vickers, who's in the book, who went on to start Iona and played for Jim Valvano, and it was like he was like a once in a generation player, and then you had a great supporting cast around him, and a really fantastic coach in Roy Coble, who knew the X's and O's in basketball and could talk it with a coach, or college coach or a pro coach, and so it was everything came together that one year, and as you could expect, as the team started winning more, the town just grew in the roller coaster. Maybe the first playoff game, 5 cars were there. The next one, 10 were there. Next, it was like we were holding up traffic. The whole town was heading out there, and the lights weren't on back home.
Yeah, hey, listen, when you got a good team in your town, like I said, Sayville, like we're a football town, but they show up there. They show up there a couple thousand strong, and when it's a good team and people start talking about, especially back then when there's no internet and stuff, where it's not like
Right.
you can't watch every basketball game of every team in the NBA or anything all over the place. So your team, it means more. It meant more back then. Now you mentioned the coach, Roy Coble. I know I had heard, I either read, I forget. I think it was his 10th year, right? When you saw him, you said he's still around. He's in his 90s now, right?
Yeah. He lives down in Florida, and the way I wrote the book is I have a really good memory, and I also had the clippings from the papers. So I felt when I started writing it, I just got into a zone. So I decided I would write the whole thing through to the end using the newspaper and my memories to complete the first draft. And then the way I tightened up the facts is I went and sought out the players and the coach, and Roy lives down in Florida. He's retired down there, and I talked to him a few times on by call like this. And then I said, "Yeah, I'd really like to say." He said, "Come on down." So I flew down there. I spent 3 days with him, and he's a very funny guy, very smart guy as well. So
is it still his team? Is this like this is his team that he like he tells people about this year too and everything? This was his big team.
Yeah, that team and the Buzzkill or spoiler alert, they won it the next year too. So he reached legendary status both in the town and in the county. But really, a lot of the things about the offense, because I ran that offense. It was we had it implemented from the junior high all the way up. And as I'm describing it, the book, in a couple of instances, he's like, no, you don't do that. So he's even remembering, you set the pick here, and then
don't argue with the coach. Don't argue with the coach. Now, right? Doesn't matter how old you get, he's still the coach.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple things where when I was just looking through the internet, when Glenn Vickers, who was the point guard, the star of the team, when he went to Iona and he played for Jim Valvano, who obviously went on to win the championship with NC State on the dunk and everything like that, and you know him from the Jimmy V Foundation. They ran a triangle offense before the Bulls and Phil Jackson, and they ran a triangle offense. And so, I found that very interesting.
It was actually Coble's offense, because the way it kind of started is Valvano recruited Glenn Vickers to Iona, and kind of through him, he got almost a Long Island All-Star team there. He got Kevin Hamilton, who was probably the second best guard on Long Island to Glenn back then. You got Rulin the next year, a guy named Alex Middleton out of Deer Park, a guy named Palma out of one of the Catholic schools, and Coble then went on to become the athletic director at Babylon, and Valvano actually brought him over to be an assistant coach at Iona. I think it was Glenn's sophomore year. And he kind of gave him free reign. Valvano did a lot of PR and was out and a lot, and he kind of left a lot to his assistants. And Coble put in the offense that we ran at Babylon, which was
he had to be young, right? Valvano had to be young when he was coaching in Iona. Yeah. He had to be young. He was young when he won the title at NC State.
Yeah. He was another very funny guy, charismatic, and he came to our varsity dinner when Glenn was a senior. And he and Coble almost got into dueling comic routines with each other. It was kind of funny, but yeah, he was always very at home. And he had an assistant named Tom McKeown who did most of his recruiting, and he practically lived at the Vickers house that senior year. I'd see him all the time because I was friends with the younger brother Ernie, and they really put a lot into getting Glenn. And when they got Glenn to Iona, Ruland was very close with Glenn at the time, and that had a lot of effect on why he decided to go there. And he went there instead of Kentucky, which was quite a.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you go there instead of Kentucky. I mean, if you choose that over Kentucky, then it is that says enough, right? That says all you need to say right there. And now you guys had the book also goes into other things like high school life. There's some people smoking pot, drinking beers, looking for parties. It is what it is. It's high school life. We all lived it. But there's also like a racial overtone to the book where it is the 70s. There is some racials. Diversity going on. Did this team? Did they bring the community together a little bit more than with their success?
With the success, but Babylon was actually a very good place to grow up. I mean, this was like, you figure 74, 75, that's 10 years after the Civil Rights Bill. So, America still hadn't quite settled, so even today they settled their racial.
Yeah, Long Island's a bit shaky on that front now, but what?
And we had, bordering towns, which, some were all white, some were all black. But Babylon seemed to have, figure the formula out. We did in a lot of instances live in separate areas of town, but they weren't like exclusively separate, like where the Vickers lived across town from me. But there were a lot of, affluent middle white class families there as well. And we'd ride our bicycles everywhere. I think that the town catty corner from one to other was probably 3 or 4 miles. And so we were always going over there. And, when I talk about the book, The Parties, because I really want to point out, it's that, you're in that 7 to 12, one building from junior high to high school. And you find out things that you probably shouldn't be finding out. There's a party at the Vickers house.
Of course.
Probably it's not meant for the junior high kids to go over there.
Parents are out of town. Who's dumb enough to throw the party in their parents' house when they're out of town?
Yeah. But the first time I went there, they said it was Ernie's party. And I said, Ernie's having a party. I'm thinking cake, ice cream. And I go over there and it's quite a bit different.
They're taking bong rips on the table and you're walking in with ice cream. But yeah, I was laughing when I was reading because it brought me back a little bit to high school where, who's having the party? What's going on tonight? Friday night. Where's the party? I said, who's dumb enough to have 150 kids at their parents' house and think it's going to be okay when they all leave? But now they had big games. The big rival was Amityville. Amityville's still, I believe, a pretty good basketball school. They've always been. They're a good sports program, period. They're a good football team, too. Now, you guys played them 3 times, I believe, total, right? Twice in the regular season, a home and away, and then once in the playoffs.
Yeah, right. So it was two games, home and away. Each team won the home and away game by a basket. And then one of the criminal things I think is that we faced Amityville so early in the playoffs because they were right there with.
Yeah, but how criminal was it? You won. I looked up the score because I cheated a little bit. I looked up the score. You beat them by 20 points.
Oh no, not Amityville.
I got it right here. 82 to 60. I saw the score in the playoffs.
No, the playoffs was the triple overtime game.
That was the triple. See, look at that. See, like you said, it's bad information. It's hard to get information. I had playoffs 82 to 60. Were any of the games 82 to 60?
Yeah, there were some of the Amityville games because what happens is we beat them at the end of the season and we kind of had them a little bit in our rearview mirror, thinking that we'd beaten them, we had moved on. But then they won their first 2 playoff. They had to play in a play-in round, and we won the division, so we got a bye in the first round. They won their first 2 games by like 20, and I believe that was one of the score. And then we played them in probably the game of the decade on Suffolk County. It was triple overtime 1-point game, and I always kind of refer to the series. That's what I call the Thrilla in the Villa with the Villa, and I name it after the Ollie Frazier fights because it was like 3 just incredibly close fights, and the loser was a punch or a basket away from being, this book being This Is Amityville Country or something.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great about basketball like that, like college band. That's why I love my favorite couple of 4 days a year on a sports calendar is the Thursday through Sunday of the NCAA tournament because it's kind of like that. It's like it's so random, and when you see like them interview the coaches after when they lose. They just lost a heartbreaker, and they're like, what? It happens. What am I going to do? We played the best. Yeah. They had the ball last. The guy hit the shot, and that's kind of what those games like with you with Amityville. And then you went on, so you maneuvered your way through the playoffs, and you get to now the Long Island Championship, the first ever Long Island Championship, and you got the Rockville Center, the South Side team, right? Tell us a little bit about that game.
Well, so kind of leading up to that, so we won the county championship, and it was almost before the aura of winning that had won off. Word started circulating. Well, God said we were hoping one of the big teams would make it. Now this Cinderella Babylon is, going to be facing off against mighty Southside, and it was like that was a Friday night, and then all Saturday. So it was like between Saturday and half through Sunday, everybody's like, well, maybe we'll keep it close. And there were, and even I said the coaches on Long Island were of a mind that, oh God, we finally get a crack at Nassau County.
We're going to get blown away. Going to get run out of the gym in the first half, right?
Yeah. And he had this great philosophy on basketball. He ran that triangle offense. He had a great press break, and Southside, wanted to run the score up, and they'd done that on Malvern when they'd won the Nassau County Championship. And the game started out that way. Is when you'll get to that point in the book. Is they got off to a race, and then then we called timeout, and then we started working, kind of slowing the ball down. In addition to the triangle offense, the way it ran a lot of picks, so you were putting a lot of bodies on people, and
physical. They played physical.
Yeah, offensive teams that like to run a lot, don't like that. And gradually he slowed the game down, and it was kind of between the that game. It was like Glenn, I think, went from like good superstar status. He just started showing he was that great. And as the game was going on, they're like, wow, and it was a great game, and it was actually played. It was a doubleheader. The Nets had played earlier in the game, so the game started at 8:00 on a Sunday night. So it was like these high school kids are going to be out to like 10 or 11 and driving.
The parties at the where was it? The Coliseum.
The
Coliseum. Right? Yeah, the parties at the barn tonight at the Coliseum. But
the Friday night games, you had the Nassau County Championship was first, then the Suffolk County Championship, and then the Nets played somebody after that, and we all got discounted or free tickets to go to the Nets games.
Yeah, see Dr. J, right? Was that Dr. J days?
Dr. J, yeah, that was
that was the second season. How good is that?
That was
fantastic. Go to Timmy's house, throw some back, then go to the barn, watch the Babylon game, and then see Dr. J. Doesn't get better than that on a Friday night in high school. Now, I'm surprised you guys were such like, I know you're a small school, Underdogs kind of came out of nowhere that year, but high school, like college, it's a guards game. And you have one of the top guards. I mean, like you said, Iona was living at his house to get him to go to the school. Iona's a D1 school. They had to know that Vickers was a player, and that it's a guards game, and he could take over a game like that. Yeah,
and like the March Madness, it was win or go home. So it's like you catch someone. Southside, they were kind of like, well, people were like, what happened to Southside? And we were always like, Babylon happened to Southside.
Hey, listen, I'm a Giants fan, all right? It's not what happened to the Patriots, all right? It's all right. We got the Tom Brady and we beat him, all right? That's what happened. It's not why did Norwood miss the kick wide right? It's we got him pressure and he missed it wide right. So, we held the ball forever. Hey, that's what happens. The single elimination, that's what makes it so great. It's a team, anybody can beat anybody. And sometimes, like you said, with the NCAA tournament, you root for those upsets. I love you love the 14-3 upset, but then it sets up a blowout in the Sweet 16. You're like, oh, now we got Kentucky against UAB. But sometimes you get lucky. You get and we've seen it now. Florida Gulf Coast, Butler rimmed out a half court shot that I think should have went down, and they would have won. Now, how have people received the book? I know it's got good ratings, but like, how have the players received it? How has the coach received it? How have people in the town of Babylon received the book? And what have you heard?
They've loved it. We did a launch of the book at the American Legion Hall back on March 18th when it was released. We had a lot of the ex-players showed up. The coach actually came up from Florida, with his children to come to it, and the assistant coach actually still lives in Babylon, the players loved it. I was expecting more critique, particularly from the coach on I didn't describe the basketball correctly.
Damn it, Tom! We ran this. I didn't call that play. Damn it, Tom!
Yes, exactly. It was funny, and I talked a lot with Glenn. we kind of reconnected after all these. And I was really close with their family in high school because Ernie was my year, and Brian, who was a freshman stud on the team. Was only a year older than me, so we ran track together, and so it was nice connecting with him and kind of reliving our youth. And basically everybody who's read it from the Village is the same thing. It's like, oh, that was such a nice time, and I remember going to Wallman's. I remembered, oh, that's right, yeah, they used to have this building here. So it was the basketball time was what tied it all together. But the coming of age and the youth, what was it like back growing up in the '70s? And it could have been at least any town on Long Island.
It's like a Long Island Stand By Me type of book.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like that kind of story with basketball. If you're a sports fan, and like I said, it's fantastic. And for you, for it to be your first book, and you not being a professional, I guess now you're a professional author, right? Because you're selling the book. But to me, writing a book, I'd sit down and I'd be like, I don't even know where to begin. But it just kind of, when you have a story to tell, I would imagine it just kind of comes out. Because me, I don't shut up with my mouth. But
what you're describing right there is the getting going, and then particularly if you have a story to tell, then it starts coming out. And I tried to write a book about 20 years ago with no teaching or anything. So I pitched it around publishers, and they gave me a lot of good constructive advice. So I went and took a couple of courses, adult education courses, and learned a little bit more. And then when I was ready to write this one, I felt like it was like the story had just been building up in my mind, as I'm thinking, this is the book I'm going to write someday when I get some time. And when I got there and was able to write it, it came spinning out. And I remember reading somewhere that Hemingway tried to write 500 words a day. I was actually writing 1,000 words a day, and I probably could have written more, but I was trying to discipline and just do that and get X number of chapters out. But and the story with the backdrop of a 4-month time frame of a basketball season, it was a nice ruler to go from this period to this period to this period. And so you have the games, and then you fill that in with what was going on in the town and the school and growing up at that time. And it really just I joke around, nobody enjoys high school that much, but I enjoyed reliving it.
Yeah, we love it now. We miss
exactly.
I'd give anything. I go to jail every day, Tom. I go to jail every day. I'd give anything to go back to high school.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Jesus. I mean, you're right. You like it better when you're out of it, because you're like, Friday, I gotta go 5 days a week. I gotta get up at 7:30. But now we do anything to go back. Now, how has Babylon been since then in the basketball? I know North Babylon was, when I was in high school, 99. They were the football team. We had a huge rivalry with them. They had Barry Baker, I think was his name. He was a big time athlete. Yeah. He went up to Syracuse, but. How has Babylon's basketball program been? Have they won anything since the 50 years ago?
Yeah, so they Babylon, you always said they're like the bigger schools were always reload, like the next year. And like the schools like Babylon, we were always kind of rebuild. So we'd win, then we'd have a couple of down years, another good class would come through. They had some good teams in the 90s and the aughts that I think won county championships at their level, and I think one team actually went to the state finals. And so the tradition is still really good, but there's this harkening back to that time, because it was also, I think, maybe not that year, but close to that year was the birth of really greatness on Long Island basketball. We'd had Mitch Kupchak a few years ago at Brentwood, but then we had Glenn, then we had Ruland, then we had David out of Bellport. We had some really great talent.
Speedy Claxton, right? Was it Speedy Claxton? Who was the guy that went to Hofstra? Was that Speedy Claxton? Was he?
There were a bunch who went to Hofstra.
That ended up playing in the NBA. I forget his name. I don't know why I want to say Speedy.
David
Claxton.
Russell was the guy from Bellport. He was the mensch when I was playing. But Hofstra had that great team. And actually, we saw a great game when Glenn was a freshman at Iona. His older brother Willie was a senior at Hofstra. So They played each other that year, and that was almost as big as the Long Island Championship. All of Babylon came out to see that. And the older brother actually got the little better of the younger brother, although the younger one had the better career that went on. But that was a good Hofstra team back then.
Yeah, nowadays you see like even Stony Brook out there.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone out there, and they got a beautiful arena out there in Stony Brook. I think that's where they play the Suffolk County Championships now. I know they used to play the football at Hofstra. Now I think they switched it over to Stony Brook. Stony Brook's kind of taking that over. Hofstra doesn't have the football program anymore. They're like, we got Wayne Corbett. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
We can't do any better than Wayne Corbett. So, but hey, listen, tell people where they could find the book, where they could get in contact with you if they want to talk to you, your social media, everything like that.
So I've got a website. It's tommckeownbooks.com. So it's TOMMCKEOWN books.com. And that tells a little bit about the book. It's presumptuous because I've only written one book and I called it books.com.
And he's already compared himself to Hemingway. So, I mean, it better be good.
So there's a couple of things on there. There's a overview of the book and the author, and there's also an area where I'm putting links to content like this that people can go and see. There's an area in their shop which tells you what you can buy it directly. You can go to Amazon. You can go Barnes and Noble. They're all there. I think we got a very nice cover. This is Panther Country.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like a basketball. Nice.
So go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever it's very available. It's been out now 2 months. It's gotten some very good reviews, and I'm continuing to try and promote it on great shows like this.
Yeah, get out there, absolutely, get out there, and then tell people about it. Because I'm going to tell people about it. And like you said, we're Long Islanders, so we always like
exactly.
And we're Long Island. We're full of ourselves. We all think we always want to read something about Long Island. We're yelling at people. We live on Long Island. You don't live in Long Island. Don't get it wrong. Stuff like that. So it's an excellent book, folks. Make sure you read it. And let's be real, everyone's going to go to Amazon and buy it, right? They're going to go to Amazon. They're going to type it in.
Right.
That's all.
Pretty much.
Do you now? A lot of times with authors, what we do on this show is we'll give a book away. We'll have you sign a book, and we'll give one away. I'll run a contest or something. We'll give one away to somebody on Long Island. They got to be on Long Island. We'll give them to them. Does that work for you, Tom?
Yeah, it works for me. And
okay, perfect. So we'll do that and put that together. We'll in the show notes and everything. Everybody check out. Make sure we'll put a link to his website and how you can get in touch with him. Do you have Twitter? Do you have? I know you have Facebook. You're one of my friends on Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Okay, so we'll put all those links. We'll get everybody linked in and connected to him. The book is This Is Panther Country, a memoir of youth, underdog spirit, and basketball glory. It's the story of the 1974-75 Babylon high school basketball team. His name is Tom McKeown. Tom, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. I had a great time.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely. How about that? Thank you, Tom McKeown. Excellent job. Excellent book. Don't forget to pick it up, and he's gonna sign a copy for us, and we're gonna give it away. So one of you guys pay attention. It's gonna be easy. Just share the post or like the post. Nothing crazy, and you get yourself a signed copy where you get entered into the contest to win a signed copy of This Is Panther Country. Interesting stuff, right? I mean, you got Jimmy Valvano in there, and I didn't even realize he was the Iona coach before he went to NC State. And of course, everybody knows him from the V Foundation and his speech at the ESPYs and stuff like that. But, an underdog story, I don't know why they were such big underdogs. I mean, you had Vickers, who was clearly a top point guard. And in high school, it's a guard's game. So same as in college. And if you have a top guard, everybody knows about it, especially if Iona was really all over them, like Tom said. But listen, they were a smaller school. They went out there, they beat Amityville, who's still a pretty big powerhouse in basketball. But now it's mostly the private schools, the Catholic schools that are the real powerhouses, nationally ranked, if you get any of those. But back then it was different. And listen, it's an excellent book. You're gonna like it. It's a quick read. It's an easy read. It's if you're a basketball fan, you're gonna like it. If you're from Long Island, you're gonna like it. If you went to high school, you're gonna like it. Like we said, it's got stuff about parties and smoking pot and drinking beers and stuff like that. So maybe you relive a little bit of your high school days when you read this book. So make sure you get the book. You can pick it up at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, where you're gonna get it from Amazon. So just go to Amazon, get it from there, and give yourself a read. And also, don't forget to keep an eye out for the post to win a signed copy of the book. And once again, his name is Tom McKeown. The name of the book is This Is Panther Country, a memoir of youth, underdog spirit, And basketball glory, it's the story of the 74-75 first Long Island championship team from Babylon High School. They ended up actually winning back-to-back titles, and the coach and the team seemed to have got back together, and the community really embraced it. So it's a good book. It's a good story. Make sure you pick it up. We got the Knicks coming up tomorrow night. It's going to be a big one. We're going to have all wall-to-wall coverage here of Knicks, Mets, Yankees, always. Best New York sports talk on the internet. So that does it for us today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Every little bit helps. Thank you again to Tom McKeown. Excellent job on his part. And we'll see you next time, everybody. From the Brian Gunzel Studios, I'm Bob Walters. See ya.